right, welcome back. This is part 2 to my twin motor build. So, bring you guys up to speed on what I've been working on is the steering. Because of the way the steering is, I've had to make a few pieces. One, I've taken the EMP extensions that are used for here to run the top plate like I showed in the last video, because that's how that system works, so that you can mount an ESC up at the top with the 4 screws that go on top of this plastic plate that slips down and holds the bearings in for the center spool. So far, I've got both gears installed. The motors are not tight because I'm still playing with gear ratio. But when you add a motor to this side, the issue that you run across is the steering. So what I have done so far is I've taken these adapters that EMP runs. I've taken the 4 that I had and I've mounted them to the steering servo so that I could bring it up. And then I've taken these shorter adapters, which are also through EMP, and I've taken one of them and I've raised up the steering arm. Then I flip the arm around to move the ESC out. So it looks like somewhere in here I'll be mounting this steering servo. Now, I want it as flat as possible. That's my goal. So, right now I've got steering left, which gets in the way of this wire a little bit, so I'm working on that. I might have to twist the motor, or I'll notch the arm so that it's not touching this wire, because it's barely touching it. And I've got steering right. So by doing this, I've got steering right and steering left. But because I'm on these stilts, I do have some wobble. Now I do have a servo bracket coming that's a pretty big bracket, and I don't know if it's going to fit in here. Once I bolt this down, I'm sure it's going to be pretty stable. Right now everything's just mocked up. But the rise I have here, I think, is a little too high. Either that or I have to raise this up higher. So what I might do is use an aluminum plate to plate this, mount this on this plate, get it in here, and then drill the 4 holes for the chassis. Which I might not even drill holes, because there are holes in the chassis for the receiver box and the servo right here. So your ESC would go here, your receiver would go in here, and your servo was mounted here. And this box was all in here. And it brought the steering servo right where my motor is, and then it was flipped around the other way. So I've just flipped it. I'm trying to show all of this because I haven't found a video out there where anybody has shared what they've done in order to get the steering to work. So I might try a longer arm so that I get more throw out of it. So, and then that'll bring this farther out for me if I run a longer servo arm, which I think is going to be my best bet, because right here where I need it, that gives me no motor adjustment for this motor, which isn't that bad because I got a 17 tooth spur in there right now, and I can always go down to the 34 and then run 2 big pinion gears. But right now I've got 2 23 tooth pinion gears because that's the only match set I have. I'm still waiting on a pair. I have a lot of gears, but they're single. So the only pairs I had so far that I could find are the 23. Which I want to get this. I'm probably going to reverse gear this setup. So, but for now, for mock-up, the 23s are fine. The other thing that I plan on doing is I was going to stick both ESCs here, but I'm debating whether to make another plate like this and run it right here, because the cab to the limitless is pretty tall. So if I drill and tap into this solid bar, just like they did here, I can drill and tap and run a plate sideways and mount one ESC here and one ESC here. And then I have less wires. I can go straight into the ESCs. I think that's going to be better than running wires all the way over to here, because anytime you're running any length of wire, that's current drop. So I think I'm going to try to utilize this wire and plug it in to the ESCs somehow, mounting one here and one here. Now the ESCs I have coming are pretty close to this, but even at this, as you see, that's still too high. I can't get the wire in. So I will have to run a connection here, a loop up and a loop in, but because the body's so tall here, I think I'll be okay doing it this way. Right now is all mock-up because I've got a couple days to figure this out and make a plate. I can even duplicate this plate right here. I do have plate material that I can use for mock-up. So I might mock up a plate. This plate is too thin, but once I mock up a plate, then I can go and cut it at my shop out of this material so that I get a clean cut. Right now, this is thin enough to where I can use some tin snips and snip the plate into what I need to run one here and one here. So these are just some ideas that I'm having. So if you guys have any ideas, comment down below. I do read all the comments. I try to respond to everything. So I think my steering is going to work this way. It should be okay. I just want to bring it out to this edge out here as far as I can, and keep it straight. The other idea I was having was I can flip the servo sideways. I can do another servo saver this way, pivot this, because put bearings in there, run a shaft like this, bearing top and bottom, put it down in there, and now I have another pivot point. and then I can just pivot it right here and bring my servo way out to the edge, and that'll give me plenty of motor movement for different pinions. So I haven't canceled going this route, so I might just work on something like this, because this does fit over that. I can just put a bolt straight through it, and this is threaded on one side. So I still need, this one doesn't have the spring in it, but basically you unscrew this, put the servo saver spring in here, tighten this down, and then this will, of course, on impact, like a servo saver does, break free. This one already has a servo saver in it, but I can add another one and go this route, keeping everything down low and then moving my servo way out here. So I do know that on the Infraction bodies, I can also get the extensions, the body extensions here, which if I can bring that out to the body extension, and then run a longer servo arm or even another pivot point, that might be better. So that's what I'm working on. I've already got the center, I've got the drive shafts in, I've already changed the pins. I showed you guys before how I do that. I carry the pins and then I press them. I press these pins out. I press in the new hardened pins, which are just a hair longer. These are really strong, so this doesn't give me slop in my diff cups, and I haven't bent a drive shaft yet. So the tool that's for this is right here. It's a tool I use. I'll show you real quick on this video how it goes. So basically, this is the installation tool. This little deal here with the end there, you just replace this. You put this in here, it has a hole in the bottom. You crank this down with the removing tool, and this will press the pin out the bottom. This is the installation tool. When you crank this down and you turn this all the way down with the wrench provided, it will stop in the right spot. You can also adjust this to where you want, depending on how long your pin is. I have this adjusted to where it locks for the limitless and Infraction, so I have this locked, but you can adjust this for longer or shorter pins. So once it stops there, I know that's all the way pressed in. And then you take this back out, and that's how you get your pin lined up perfectly. So it's a tool you can buy. It is on eBay. EMP told me about this kit, gave me the part number to where I can pick this up on eBay. This is a I think a $90 kit or $68 kit. But for me, it's well worth it because I have so many limitlesses and so many Infractions that I do a lot of pin changes to every one that I get. And then I bought the pins also through EMP. So if you want to know where to get that stuff, EMP, they make the motor mount stuff. That's where I got those tools and stuff from. So any ideas on what you would do with this steering servo? Comment down below. This is not the servo I'm going to be using. I am going to be using a Servox servo, something a little quicker. So I'm using this for mock-up. But that's the update. That's where I'm at so far. Drive shafts are in, center's bolted down, my motor mount's in, gears are on, motors are on. I'm going to be working on this plate and steering. So since I've already modded most of this steering up, I figured I'd turn on the camera, show you guys what I'm doing to compensate when you buy these motor mount stuff. Now I can flip the motors around, leave the steering servo where it was, but then I'm dealing with battery trays. And I really want my batteries right here because I feel with the weight of the batteries and the motors here, I should be okay. Now if I flip this around and put the motors over here and the steering servo was here, I'm sure I could double pack batteries on one side, but now you're talking about enough batteries to run 2 ESCs. So it's bad enough that I'm going to have to double stack this with 2 4S packs and double stack this with 2 4S packs. I can run a single 6-pack here and a 6-pack here. They do make, I do know they make 8S packs, but the 8S packs are so tall or they're so long that it would be really hard for me to get them to work in these battery trays. But I do have the Electron Pros that are 4S packs that I can double stack here and double stack here, and it fits perfect. So that's where I'm at. I normally double stack 2 4S packs in my speed car on one battery tray, which is this side, because I have this motor flipped around with a long can TP motor, the 4070 can I have in that. So the motor comes way back to here, and I've got a couple of dual fans on it, but that's on my speed car. So this one, I really want to flip it. That's why I ran the 4050 cans. I know they fit in here this way, so that's why I'm working on this. So far, everything's mounted down except for the steering I'm working on. So we'll be right back when I start making more modifications to this steering. Just wanted to turn on the camera and show you where I'm at on this so far. Now, I still have my receiver, which I'm going to run. I don't think I'm going to put my receiver in a box. And the whole reason I'm not going to stick it in a box is because I want really good range. So, I've ran this, the wire comes out on this side, I flipped it underneath this bracket, it's worked perfect since it's off the ground, and my receiver is probably, I'm thinking, gonna go here, along with my cap packs. As you see, I can put them here, and I can still get my receiver in here on the plate I make for the 2 ESCs. I'll just run a longer plate, the width of the car, maybe even a little bit shorter, probably the width of both these motors. I can even, the plate I run, I can run Plexan. That way they're see-through and I can see what's going on with these gears and this motor through the plate I build here. So just going through some ideas on placement. I'd also like to get the ESCs low enough to where if I want it, I could put a limitless body on this, or maybe even the Toyota GT body. I was thinking about doing that and closing these wheels off. If I do that, I will have to put the ESCs back here, and then I'll run the Rippa Killer caps in the far back. But I'm gonna message Phil Jolly and see if there's something else I can do with the caps. Maybe I can run a smaller pack and go that route. But just a little quick update on what I'm working on. As soon as I start drilling and actually finalizing this, I will turn the camera back on and show you exactly what I'm doing. But here's our platform so far. Here's the way I think my steering's gonna go, and there we go. So like, comment, subscribe, comment down below. If you have a better idea for this steering, let me know, and I will definitely take that into consideration. All right, guys, thanks for watching.